Last night I was drunk. I was drunk on peonies. Because this little bunch of peonies, plus this one here, there was a breeze coming through and the peonies were there. Maybe I should put them there again. And the wind would blow and the scent would come and I was intoxicated. Captured in the memory bank. Because they say that the greatest memory is perfume, or is scent, is a smell. And we were in the office and Viveka said, you know this scent? And it was Lily of the Valley. And all of a sudden I'm back in my garden, 60 years ago, when my parents would grow all these flowers in the Midwest in the United States. And Lily of the Valley was one of the first flowers that would pop up in the springtime. The theme for today are all the answers are within, and it's quite appropriate with the weather as we're coming out from within now, with the sun shining all the time, is to still keep the base. That environment can never satisfy our souls completely. It can complement what's already there. But if you're attached to your happiness from environments, as we spoke last night, but let's not talk about shopping environments, object environments. Let's just talk about elemental, just nature. And I have a story that always appears in my frontal lobe when I talk about this. And when I was a hippie living in Hawaii in the mid-60s, I thought I had gone home to paradise on earth, because I had grown up in the Midwest in a farm community. There were the seasons, but there wasn't the magic. It was more hardworking, kind of like that, basic, get an education and save your money and buy a house. And it was all so boring to me. I didn't want to do that. And so I ran off to Hawaii with many other hippies, and we lived on the beach. And we were carefree. We were materially free. We owned nothing except a toothbrush and one piece of clothing. And we body surfed all day. We just body surfed. You get up in the morning and you walk out. We had our own beaches as hippies because nobody wanted to walk 8 miles through these trees that had little thorns on them. So it wasn't a tourist place. In the 60s, it was our little beach and big beach. And we just body surfed like you can't believe. We didn't eat very much. We fasted all the time because we were too lazy to go find food. You had to go 8 miles to get anything. And we didn't have water either. And so I'm not sure what we did about that, but we definitely resourced ourselves down to about 0. And we were, at that time, I thought, very happy. Looking back, I think we were all on a journey, and I just pray for all those hundreds of people that I live with communally, that they're still alive and that they've found a way to live after all these years. But I was blown away. And then it was God just intercepted. And at the time I didn't know it was God. I didn't know what it was. I was disappointed. But looking back, the message was so clear. You cannot get your happiness from the outside ever. You can be elated with the scent of the lilacs, but when they go, then are you going to be sad? When you have a partner and they decide to leave you, then are you going to just not have a life? Your children leave home and they were your whole life and then you don't have a life? Are you basing your salary, your occupation, your relationship, your children or not? The lilacs, the peonies? Or can you just enjoy it all but not be attached to it? For everything comes and goes, even this physical body. Nothing is permanent except your relationship with your soul. or yourself? And can that travel and surf through life's experience? And can you still keep hold of that when times get so hard and you're on the edge and you're on thin ice and you think you're going to lose it? Do you have a sustenance to call upon? Do you have a maintenance program that you've developed through a spiritual practice? Some people get through a tsunami, not only alive but well, and other people, they're never right. They're never mentally balanced again. Some of you get through the death of someone so loved to you, especially children. That's the hardest. And you can still rise, smile in time, serve, remember Creator, not be bitter, not be a victim, why me? And there's others that do the opposite. What is it that can keep us going? Not just going. Going is boring, but keep rising to our soul. I mean, to me, it has to be something you do on a daily basis that plugs you back into the source. Because I don't believe you can just get the source like, oh, come on, source, now. I need you now. Snap, snap, snap. Get to it like a waiter. I need my dinner fast. There's a story that always comes to mind. He was a carpenter, and he was on a pointed rope at the top. He lost his footing, and he's sliding fast, probably to death, because it was so far way up to the ground. And he says, God, God, help me, God. The hook, you know, they put their hammer into, it got caught on something that kept him from falling to death. And someone says, oh my God, God answered your prayers. He said, no. He says, I just got hooked on a nail. You see what I mean? Sometimes we just won't surrender to the source that made us. We even have a hard time saying thank you. Hard time saying please. I know, I've been through it too. I've been to points of not wanting to live. Maybe some of you can identify with that. To just say, it's not worth it, I give up. Or I could end my life myself. Different low points in my life where I thought I wouldn't make it. But somehow through grace, we're all sitting here. I think that the best insurance to keep sitting here and keep traveling on your journey, because that's all life is this conscious awakening. What else is there, really? I mean, really, at the end of the day, you raise your kids or not, you retire, whatever you do in your life. But if you leave this planet with your last breath, not knowing why you came, not knowing who you are, not having any relationship with something that made you, I mean, really, what's the point? Just biding time. Sometimes I say people live like a sandwich. There's a bread on top, you're born, there's a bread on the bottom, you leave, and in between you just fill it up with what? That's why I think it's a real, in the Western world, a real epidemic now of boredom. And I think boredom comes behind it from anger. It's kind of like when you have a sieve and you are dividing the grain from the husks. Has anyone ever done that? Like, say with wheat, and you shift it like this, and all the outside layers of the grain fall out. No, they fall out, and the rice stays in. The rice falls out, and the rice falls down to the pot, and the stuff that you can't eat stays in. And so it's a shifting, sieving, I don't know if that's a word. You sieve, right? And you sort. And then you're left with a peace, because there's an emptiness in your mind. That's why you feel so good after yoga last time. No one even wanted to go home. They're just sitting like this. Because we had emptied so much stuff that you were just sitting in the wonder of your own identity, and it felt really good. It felt really empty. But you can't do it just one time, darn it. You can't just do one meditation on home free. You can't just eat one healthy meal and then you're home free. It's a daily practice. And how do you know it's daily? Just do it for 40 days and then stop doing anything and see what happens. It's not fast that you whirl down again to old patterning in the brain. And then you have that realization that, golly, I brush my teeth every morning. I got to clean my mind every morning. You see a lot of people that are drunk or on the streets here. And it's pretty interesting because they're no less than we are as a human being. They're longing just as much as we are. Maybe even more. I find most people that are imbibed in an addictive behavior are the most sensitive people. And maybe some of you identify with that. I was so sensitive and so longing that there was nothing else I could have done. I would have died in the pain of separation. There was a book written a long time ago in the late 80s. It was The Sieve of the Soul by Gary Zukav. Great book. Another milestone for my life. He explained addiction so beautifully. He said, without an addiction, the separation between your soul and yourself would be so painful that you would die of the pain. You would literally die. So you have to fill that separation with something. Maybe it's sex, maybe it's having a lot of kids, maybe it's making money, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs. It's something until you can bridge the gap and get closer to your soul. And many people in this separation die. They die of alcoholism, they die of cancer, they die of so much. But there's nobody on this planet Earth that is not here to bridge the gap and become one with their soul. Because that's what we're here for. And because you are journeying towards that, probably more than anybody out there now, it doesn't make you any better at all. What it gives you is more responsibility to then go out there and see who you can serve in great humility and great love. Maybe it's just going to be through prayer, because they think you were nuts if you went and told them left nostril breathing will really help you. And in a way, you don't have a right to do that unless they ask. So, shall we? Okay, let's first get